yeah. Hola, hombre, estamos aquí. Bitch, I'm out the holy, you know, God is undefeated. I love you, God, he wet my whole soul. We wealthy, a humble million, need living. We living, rich and righteous living. God is undefeated, bring your heaven to earth. God is faithful, believe. I see the vision, run it up. Glory to God. It's already done, living life eternity. Because there's no end, God is undefeated, crazy bad. Keep fighting to you when. There's no turning back, you got it, strength in what remains. Hey, there's power in the blood you see. Hey. Woo! Let's go, family. Happy, blessed Thursday. You already know what time it is. Welcome to the Crazy Faith of God channel, where we give you nothing but value, impacting your spirit, impacting your soul each and every single day, right? So today's topic is actually going to be shallow waters, right? Shallow waters, right? So let's dive straight into it, right? When we have a choice each and every single day to dive into the deep, right? Or we can stay in the shallow waters, right? We could dive into the deep, or we could stay in shallow waters, right? And there's two outcomes when you are operating in the shallow waters and when you're in the deep waters, right? When you're in the shallow waters, you're very limited on the power that you give to the world. You're very limited with the access of God, right? You're actually watered down when you're in shallow waters, right? You're pretty much watered down, and there's another level from those shallow waters, right, that we got to step into, and that's called diving into the deep, right? The shallow waters is pretty much comfortable, right? You're in shallow waters, that means you're comfortable, right? You're doing the average things that people do, right? The average things that people do, right? And you have a choice to be great or to be average, right? You have a choice to dive into the deep or to stay in shallow waters. And when we stay in shallow waters, there's no real growth. There's no real life in the shallow waters. But you know what's crazy? When you dive into the deep, it's strength, it's power. You're connected with God, right? When you're in the deep, that's when you're with God. When you're in, God is never in the shallow waters, right? But he's in the deep, right? So that's what we got to start moving to, right? We got to start moving to the deep. If you feel like you're stagnant and you're in shallow waters, that's because you're in shallow waters. That's why you feel stagnant, right? We got to let go of whatever is keeping us in those shallow waters, because there's no true growth, there's no true life in the shallow waters. And I was once that person that was in the shallow waters, and I had to grow out of that, because there's no comfort in there's no growth in shallow waters. There's comfort in shallow waters, but there's no growth. You won't see the growth that you're looking for if you're in shallow waters, right? How many of us are tired of this average, mundane, mediocre lifestyle, right? This watered down, average, mundane, doing the same thing every day, and not doing the same thing every day and expecting a different result that other people have, right? We got to be able to step out of that. If they want to be average, you let them be average, but you shine your light. You be the light, right? You show them that they don't have to live in that shallow water, that they can come up higher with you, right? But we got to be an example. We got to lead by example, right? We got to show by example that shallow waters are for average, weak people. And I say that humbly and respectfully. But if you want to dive into the deep with God, that's when transformation begins. That's where true life begins. That's where growth begins. That's where transformation begins. That's where you're able to forge a greater relationship, a stronger relationship with God. You can't do it in the shallow waters. And sometimes people, they would want you to stay in those shallow waters. Why? So that they can be comfortable in the shallow waters. So they can have you comfortable in the shallow waters and not reach to new levels and new heights. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to stay there. You don't have to be in shallow waters, because you was not called to stay in the shallow waters. You was called to dive into the deep, right? And it's okay if you outgrow the people that are around you, because at the end of the day, they don't control your growth. They don't control you. Only the Spirit of God controls your growth, controls you. So you have the ability to blossom no matter what. You got the ability to shine your light no matter what, and give them an option to rise up higher with you. If they're not rising up higher with you, you got to leave them behind. You got to love from a distance, right? If they're not willing to grow with you and be like, a part of your circle and rise higher with you, leave them where they're at. Leave them in the misery. Leave them where they're at. Because if they're not trying to grow with you, then what are they trying to do to you? If they're not trying to grow with you, what they are trying to do with you? They're trying to pull you down to their level of excellence. No, that's where you draw the line and you leave them in their level of excellence. You leave them where they stand and you outgrow them, right? You show them there's more life, there's more growth within inside of them, right? Within inside of you. And then once you show them that, then you give them an option to rise higher with you. But if they don't want to, cool. That's fine. Stay over there, though. Love from a distance. Stay over there, right? And be average, right? Because we were not called to be average, right? We will grow. We will transform. Nobody will stop you because the Spirit of God dwells within you, right? The Spirit of God dwells within you. God's Spirit is unbreakable. God's Spirit is unbreakable, right? God's Spirit is unbreakable, right? And you got to be at peace with that, right? You got to be at peace when people are trying to pull you down, right? And still rise higher and still show them love from a distance, right? It's fine. But I tell you this, we will grow no matter what, right? And you know what else you could do? You could use everything that's going against you as fuel to push you forward. And that's the real win, right? It takes a strong person to master that mindset, right? It takes a strong person to actually master that mindset and push forward, right? God is going to strengthen you so that nothing can be shaken, right? He will strengthen your kingdom so that way nothing will be shaken, right? He uses the negative, the evil for good. God uses the negative, the evil for good, right? So if they're trying to pull you down, only thing that's gonna happen, you're gonna get shot further ahead. Your growth is gonna be tremendous, right? It's gonna feel like you're kind of digressing, but that's catapulting forward, right? He uses the negative as positive. That's what I like about God, right? That's what I like about it. He uses the negative as positive. What the enemy meant for evil, God made it for good. Let's go. Shout out to God. Kings of kings and Lord of lords, right? Shout out to God. Kings of kings and Lord of lords, right? And we just got to be the light each and every single day. Be the light. Use everything as fuel. Push forward to your dreams, goals, and aspirations, right? And let God deal with the rest. Remember, God gives life and He takes life. Remember this. God gives life and He takes life. So put everything in His hand and let Him take care of it, right? At the same time, you got to be able to still love from a distance and keep your peace. Don't let anyone Don't let anybody else's music contaminate your music. Do not let anyone else's music contaminate your music. Right? The enemy's out to kill, steal, and destroy. Right? But with the Spirit of God, God is unstoppable. Right? So I want to leave you guys with this. Right? If you don't start to protect your energy, right? Love from a distance, right? And dive into the deep and not stay in the shallow waters, right? If you do that, to dive in the deep and not stay in the shallow waters, you will grow tremendously and you will love yourself a lot more. You will love yourself living in the deep with God rather than staying in the shallow waters where it's mediocre, mundane, average. It's time to grow. Even if it feels uncomfortable. Right? I was not called to make other people feel comfortable. You was not called to make other people feel comfortable. That's not your calling. Right? It's okay if you ruffle some feathers. Right? You were not called to be average, mediocre. You were not called for people to control you and to mold you, right? Only God can mold you. Only God can forge what he's trying to forge within you. Right? And most importantly, you just gotta love from a distance. Protect your energy. Right? Not everybody's made to be in your circle, and you gotta be at peace with it, whether you like it or not. You gotta protect you first before you try to please other people, and you could never please anyone. The only person you could honestly please is God. If you try to do it any other way, you're gonna fail miserably. Right? So I want to take a few minutes now and pray over you guys and ask that God will strengthen you, will enlighten you, and to push you into the deep waters with him, so that way you can transform, you can grow, you can see the abundance that God has placed within inside of you. Right? So you can see the transformation, so you can see the hidden riches that's placed inside of you. Right? You don't want to miss this. There's hidden riches within all of us that we got to tap into and believe and cultivate our faith until it manifests in the real life. Right? So with that being said, thank you, God, it's already done. Thank you for enlightening us. Thank you for switching our minds. Thank you for a higher sense of awareness to be able to dive in the deep and take that chance and take that risk with you, God. With that being said, it's already done. Let's go. Crazy Faith of God on the way out. Nothing but love. Enjoy this blessed Thursday. Let's get it. Let's go.